Hey everybody, Steve Lowell here. A lot of you know that my wife Jane and I have been spending a lot of time traveling the world, speaking at conferences and conventions, and as a result, we've been able to see some great speakers from all over the world. And here's what we've noticed, and maybe you've noticed this too. You can go to a convention that has 30 speakers, and at the end of the convention, there's usually one or two that kind of lock themselves into your mind. The rest, even though they were good, even though they had great stories, and they made you laugh, and they made you think, and they made you cry maybe, and they had PowerPoint slides and all of those things that speakers are supposed to do, even though they did all of that, there's something about the other one or two that make them appear to be just a little bit different, and everybody else kind of falls into their own group. And you got to wonder why that happens. Is it because they have better platform skills? No, it's not. Is it because they tell better stories? Nope. Is it because they have better PowerPoint slides? Or is it because their message is more targeted to the audience? No, it's none of those things. Here's what it is. This is what I can tell you. After 30 years of training speakers all around the world, I've noticed that most speakers, whether they're professional speakers or not, even if they're not professional speakers, even if they're coaches, trainers, authors, financial planners, healers, lawyers, whatever it is they do, and they're using speaking to promote their business, which is a great idea, by the way, but even if they're not professional speakers, they do this one thing. And a lot of professional speakers do this one thing, and I'm going to share with you what it is so that you can go above and beyond and be one of those speakers that stands out. Now, in working with speakers over all these years, here's the commonality that I noticed. I noticed that most speakers are driven by one or more of three primary motivators, and sometimes it's more than one. The first motivator is what I call the mess. Now, the mess is where you have a huge issue in your life, or a challenge in your life that you have overcome that forms the foundation of who you are. Now, I don't have a mess in my life, and maybe you don't have a mess in your life, but I have something else, and maybe you have this. I have what I call a moment. I have a moment in time when I realized what my passion was, when I realized what my gift was, when I realized what my purpose was. Now, maybe you have a moment or a series of moments in time when you remember thinking, you know what, this is why I'm here. That's my gift. This is my passion. This is my purpose. Maybe you have that, but maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have a mess, and maybe you don't have a moment. And if you don't have a mess or a moment, then chances are good that you have what I call a mission. A mission is a cause greater than yourself, something in this world that you are driven to change. Or maybe you have a combination of all three of these, or maybe two of them, but chances are good that if you get in front of an audience under any capacity for your business, or even just to serve your passion and to evangelize your cause, then you can probably find yourself in one of these primary motivators. And then here's the next stage. Most speakers that I see are going to take that mass mission or their moment, and they're going to create from that their message. They'll craft their message based on one of the three primary motivators. And their motivation for delivering the message is typically found within one or more of those three primary motivators. Within these messages, this is where the speakers embed their solutions. There are 3 pillars to this, or there are 4 secrets to that, or there are 5 steps and stages to this, and they have solutions that they have formulated based on their mess, their moment, or their mission. They'll sprinkle some laughs in there. They'll sprinkle some emotional triggers to make you think and cry and get emotionally attached, and all of that happens within the message, and they master the delivery of the message. And they'll get on the stage and they will deliver it with power. They will have great platform skills. They'll be slick, and they'll be smooth, and they'll have great body language, and they'll do all of that. All of that is great, but here is the problem. This is where most speakers stop. And the reason they stop here is because they don't know to go any further. And what I'm going to share with you is the next 2 steps that actually sets you apart from every other speaker on the stage. You see, the speakers who operate at this level here, these speakers are operating at what I call the solution level, which means they're sharing their wisdom and their experiences with the world based on one of the 3 primary motivators. But this is what all the speakers do, and this is what kind of makes them all look the same. But here's what makes the speaker stand out. You know, the 1 or 2 speakers at the end of the conference that make you remember them and make you take action, they go to this next level, and that's what I call expert insights. Expert insights is when you can provide a snapshot of your audience's world from a perspective that they have never seen before. That positions you now as the only possible solution. So when we operate at the level of expert insights, and if we master the delivery of those expert insights, now we're operating at this level here, and I call that the problem level. And this is what makes you stand out. When you can get your audience to go, I haven't seen it quite like this before. And if you can get your audience to look at what you're doing and say, you know what? I never knew I had this problem. I need to talk to this speaker and find out how to fix it. Now that's where you start making bigger money as a speaker. This is where you start getting more people sign up to your programs. This is where you get more speaking gigs. This is where you raise your speaking fees. You sell more books. You get more consulting gigs. More people hire you to coach or whatever it is that you do. This is where you really start generating business. You start being chosen because you're operating at the problem level up here and not spending all your time down here like every other speaker. So here's my challenge to you. For the next speaking gig that you have, whatever it is, I'm going to challenge you. Take a look at your content. And are you just sharing a message and a solution like every other speaker? Or are you giving the audience a snapshot of their world that they never considered before? And then are you positioning yourself as the solution? And if you can do those things, you are going to be the speaker that stands out above everybody else. I'm Steve Lowell. I hope you found this of value. Stay tuned because there's a lot more to come.